What's going on YouTube? It's KReese here. Today we are going to be removing the KEBC clutch fork, which is located down in here in my 2005 Brute Force Kawasaki 650 solid rear axle. One of the reasons, the reason I'm doing it, I'm out in the country. There's not really a lot of hills around here. What that fork does is it's the engine brake. It's Kawasaki engine braking. It's a KEBC engine brake controller. What it does, it puts pressure on it less than 5 miles an hour. As soon as you start throttling up, you can hear it kind of actuating. It'll lift off. But what it does, when you hammer on the gas real hard, it has to sit there for a second, and then that fork disengages, and it cuts down on your takeoff, and also it shortens the life of the belt, because what it does, it puts pressure on the belt, negative pressure on the belt when it's stopping it. But without it, you know, the clutch just free spools, and what you have, you know, going down the hill, all you really can rely on at that point is your brakes. But one way to get it to work, pull your brake in and hit the gas a little bit, and that'll engage the clutch. Work the gas just a little bit, and don't hammer on it when you're going down the hill trying to slow down, but work the gas just a little bit and the brake at the same time. That will help. That will actually slow the four-wheeler down going down a hill. But we're gonna go ahead. We'll start by removing this boot here. You got a screw there and a screw there. We'll just pop this boot off, the vent boot for the clutch cover, and there's some bolts around here. We're gonna go ahead and remove all these, pull this off, and when I get it inside on the bench, I'll show you all what we're working with on the inside. So before we get started disconnecting anything, first thing you want to do is take the key out of the ignition, set it off to the side, because you don't want to be starting this up or turning the ignition on when you unhook the wires, because you'll have to do your belt light reset. If you happen to do that, or if you need to reset your belt light, check out my other video where I show how to reset the belt light on this four-wheeler. Now, the bolts here, you're going to need a ratchet with a long extension, because you're going to have to get some of these, and there's some that are all the way down here at the bottom. So you got one there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that I can see. There might be one behind this. We'll figure it out when we get it off. I don't think so. The bolts are a 10mm, so with a 10mm socket, ratchet, extensions, go ahead and we'll start taking these off. With a Phillips head screwdriver, go ahead and start removing these screws here, and we'll loosen this cover and remove the belt, the vent cover. Alright, with your belt cover removed, as you can see, there's not another bolt behind this cover. I didn't think there was, so we'll go ahead and remove this cover now. I'm going to go ahead, since I got a little rust, a couple of spots on this clamp, just because I like to take care of my stuff, I'm going to shoot both of these with a little coat of black paint. Let that be drying while we do this here. Alright, so with all the bolts removed, you're going to go ahead, you're going to unplug these two connectors that go to here. And for your KEBC, follow this up. We're going to unplug this one here, and then we can remove the cover. That's my mistake, y'all. You don't have to remove these two, you just have to remove this one. Okay, so you can leave these plugged in. Just remove that one and this one. And with the cover off, you can see there's a gasket there. I removed it. I'm just going to wipe clean around that surface right there. I may apply like a light coat of grease just to help the gasket to seal. What you want to do is make sure that you remember which way it's oriented. I put it facing down because that's the way it goes into here, and this side right here goes against the engine. And go ahead and clean out the inside of this. I got the compressor running. I'm gonna blow it out with some compressed air. I already wiped it down with this rag, and just try to keep any dirt, like you can see there's some dirt on the surface, just clean that off. Make sure you have a nice surface when you put the gasket back on. So go ahead, now that we have the cover inside, you're gonna remove 1, 2, 3 those bolts. They are 8mm. With the 3 bolts removed, go ahead and remove your KEBC actuator. with the actuator removed, we can now access the fork lever. Alright y'all, so with the cover over, just with the cover the way it is right now, take a good look at the shaft where it passes through the clutch cover, which it passes through right here. You want to note the position of the spring right here and the C-clip. The C-clip, try to get some light on that y'all, it's right here at the tip of that spring. What you're going to do is remove that C-clip and then remove that spring. Here's the C-clip. This goes on the end of this spring here, on the end of that shaft. I just popped it off. The way you can do that, there's a tool you can use. You put down here, let me show you all this thing. You put it down here on those holes, and it's like pliers, except when you squeeze them, they open up and open that up. I didn't have my hands on any of those, so I used this little pair of needle nose, positioned them in between, and just opened them until I got that off. Now, with the C-clip off, you have access to the spring. Slide this spring off, and then you're going to slide this fork lever out through the top of the clutch cover. It's going to go that way. And in order to slide this all the way out, this little housing that goes over the top, you will have to remove this housing out to slide this out. And y'all don't have to, but it's a good idea. Put the C-clip back on, spring back on, same position. Put this someplace where you'll remember where it is in your shelf in the back of your shop. Put it up in case you ever want to put it back on. You probably won't, because you're going to love the performance upgrade that you get, but in case you ever do, just hold on to it. Before you reinstall the KEBC actuator, pay close attention to the O-ring here. I took a rag, just wiped down around it. I took a little thin coat of oil on my finger, not oil, grease, and you can use oil also. Just run around that O-ring, just because I don't like to put O-rings back in anything completely dry. A little bit of slight coat of grease around that O-ring. Clean that off. That'll keep the trash out, keep moisture, dirt, keep this thing waterproof. We'll go ahead and we'll reinstall this actuator. So now that we have the KEBC actuator installed, as you can see, everything is still in here. You just don't have the fork. This actuator is going to make its normal noises, like it's engaging and disengaging and doing all that stuff when you turn it on and turn it off. It just will not be able to apply force to the belt anymore. So now that you have this done, everything wiped down and clean, no dirt inside these cracks here, because this is where your gasket's going to go. We're going to apply a light coat of grease to the gasket. We're going to put the gasket back in this cover, put a light coat of grease around it, and go ahead and reinstall it, and we'll hook everything back up and see how she works. And I know I'll tell y'all stuff sometimes, and you know, I assume that you know what I'm talking about, but sometimes y'all might not know exactly what I'm talking about. So when I say I'm putting some grease on here, this is just what I'm doing. It's pretty simple. Got an old grease gun here with some grease in it. Just kind of dab some grease on, and I just go along lightly on this gasket here. And that's all you want. This is just going to help keep dirt, keep particles out. It's going to help it make a good seal to that metal surface, and that's all. It's going to help keep moisture out, and you know, keep it even more waterproof when you're in water. So this is all you do, guys. Nothing really to it. It just takes time. Alright y'all, so got everything back on, all the bolts on tight. I will tell you, when you put this back on, pay attention to these wires back here. Make sure that you don't have any pinch between the engine and the cover. And when you go to tighten this up, just make sure everything's clear. Put them all in. You can torque them down to the specs. I didn't check the book to see what the specs were. I just did them to where they felt about right. I've been doing this a while, so I know how not to strip something, because I've stripped stuff. I know how not to do it now. You got everything on, got a new bracket. Well, not new brackets, but they look new because I painted them. This was probably the hardest part of this whole thing, was getting this boot back on. Push it on up top and down at the bottom. I'll tell you a tip: go ahead and loosen these all the way till they're almost at the end, about to come out. I actually slipped this one down onto the cover, put it on first, and then I put it up and tighten it up some. I took the bottom one and pushed it on, loosened this all the way, popped, and I had it down around here. I popped it back up onto it, tightened everything down, so that helped out. Plug all your wires back in. Make sure you just, you know, keep everything neat, tuck everything up out of the way, and we'll go ahead and hop on this thing, and we'll see how this thing works. I'll let you know what I think about it. So hang on. Alright, so this is the first time I've experienced this, so we're gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna put it in high range, and we'll see what it feels like. Yeah, I can already tell y'all I like that a lot. If you have one and you know what it feels like when you go to take off, you have that hesitation, and then it goes and it disengages, and it lets you take off. This one, as soon as you give it the gas, you're going. I can hear the actuator. If you listen hard, you can hear the actuator. It's just not moving anything. Try it in low range. Wow. Yeah, you can hear the actuator like it normally sounds. Like right now, it's just rolling. It's just rolling. Wow. That is something, y'all. I like that. Let's do a pull real quick. Pulls pretty good. Hang on. Even with these Zillas on here, this thing still breaks the tires loose. Every time. Well, you can hear it actuate. Well, that's it, y'all. Everything looks good. I like the performance. I know that y'all will too. I'm KReese. Like this video if it helped y'all. I wanted to do it so I'd help some people out. So like it if it helped y'all. Subscribe to my channel for more videos. Comment with any input or questions. Thanks for watching, y'all.